is Dave, it is Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new release from California based brutal death metal outfit Iron Front. The band's new album, Hooked, will be released on January 12th on Creator-Destructor Records. So, originally formed in 2016, then named Dire Wolves, the band reformatted to Iron Front in 2019. Taking inspiration from old school death metal and New York hardcore, the output of Iron Front is a hardcore adjacent slam-induced alloy of pure savagery. The band have independently released a handful of demos, singles, and one full length, as well as an EP on Transylvanian Records. The debut album, Left Out to Rot, garnered praise from Metal Forces magazine for its amazing mix and staggering intensity, and made it onto Toil of Hell's top 10 of 2022. Now Iron Front arrives with their most decimating material to date with their second album, Hooked. The succinct but dense record savagely unloads 7 earth-moving tracks stacked with infectious riff hooks and earth-moving beatdowns. Recorded, mixed and mastered by Nicholas Morosini at Inpatient Studios in Oakland, Hooked was completed with cover art by Julian Felipe and Mora Ibanez. Okay, so Iron Front. I don't know if you remember, I actually messaged you when the first single from this dropped.
Yes, you may have mentioned a wee band in there.
I may have.
And I was like, oh, cool. And then I mentioned, I was like, cool. I need never listen to this again. Man or two, just kind of sprinkled in
there. Yeah. To say I was excited was an understatement.
Yeah, because you messaged me. Like, we see enough of each other at that time as well. We'd seen enough of each other that we'd almost kind of like, well, we're like, maybe a wee bit of radio silence for a couple of weeks would do us good. We broke radio silence.
And I said, if 200 Stab Wounds had a kid with Sanguisugabogg, this is how it would sound, or something to that effect.
Yeah, which is it's not far off being right.
So yeah, I was keen to hear this one. I hadn't heard of the band before that first single dropped, but definitely sounded like something that would be up my street. What about you though? Was it up your street? Was the rest of the album to your liking? What did you think of Iron Front's new album?
So you kind of, when you say things, Dave, you put, whether or not you know you do, but you put a level of expectation. Words mean things.
Words, they do.
They do. Like, you can't just be like, Sanguisugabogg, and I don't instantly get transported to just the savagery, the bestial beatdowns and the pingy snare. You can't just do that. Like, I get an expectation. You can't just be like 200 Stab Wounds as if it's just like fucking Mariah Carey. You can't just throw them out there, Dave.
I know.
The thing that did kind of clock in the back of my mind was you didn't mention Bloodduster, which might be on your list of things to mention.
It is, yeah.
Which I kind of feel like if Bloodduster like came forward in time and then shagged all the members of 200 Stab Wounds and Sanguisugabogg, and somehow that created a child, that would be kind of...
To be fair, I didn't realise this was going to come with so many samples on it, so at that point I didn't know. Until I heard it, I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's the connective tissue. Like Bloodduster, for those that don't know, are a fucking incredible, kind of very tongue-in-cheek Australian death metal band from circa 2005, 6.
Way back.
Ancient now by today's standards, almost 20 years ago, and they had a tendency to throw in like almost ridiculous samples. Dave's going to fact check me.
Actually, I'm intrigued to know when did Cunt come out.
Oh, yeah. If you're naming your album Cunt, right, you're not getting on the Billboard 100, you know what I mean? Like, you've kind of already said, you know what, guys, we might as well make it for us and our fans.
2001.
Right, so even older, right? So we're talking over 20 years. Bloodduster, for anyone that's enjoying this kind of renewed resurgence and the kind of old school death metal, but wants something that's a bit more playful, a la Sanguisugabogg, definitely should check out Bloodduster. And I'm front have that whether or not any of these bands ever listen to Bloodduster is inconsequential. We are currently in a period of time right now which does make me very happy, where there's a lot of bands. My theory is that death metal has went so technical that there's almost a kind of need to regress on the other end and just focus on the groove, right? Like, it's all the groove, or we're not doing this anymore. Ironfront are definitely in that camp. Almost from like the first 10 seconds of Dissolved in Resin, you know what you're getting. And I will be honest, this band, out with a couple of tricks on the last track, the Slamma 87, really never stray far from that path. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't be happier for it. I sometimes can get a little bit bored, or I can get a little bit peeved off that bands don't push themselves or flex enough. But Ironfront have a 22-minute album. And by God, if all the 7 tracks don't just do exactly what they need to do, and not a fucking ball here, not a cunt here more days, right? They keep it like really, like, to the point where, and I'm not like, I stress this a lot. I wasn't huge into death metal back in the day. I have acquired a taste for it now in my later years, and my taste that has acquired tends to be of an era where I wasn't even fucking interested in it. But what Ironfront do is, for the most part, at times, very fucking predictable. But there's a comfort that comes with that predictability, where you're listening to the riff and you're like, oh, just go slower than the next one, because you're like, right there. Like the best blowjob you've ever had, where you're just like that. If only they'd work on the head for the next. Oh, there it's there. There it's there. There it's there. My balls aren't getting enough attention. Now they are. Now they are. It's kind of that way. It's like, I just kind of felt like this. At every point where I was like, you know what this track would need, the band gave me it. Sanguisugabogg are really good at that as well. Like, really, really, really good at almost anticipating what the listener wants to hear next and then giving you it. And as a result, there's that immense satisfaction. Like, my 9-year-old loves videos where people fucking open boxes and peel things off, like new tablets or new phones, because they'll be, oh, look at that, it's so satisfying. And I always be like, you fucking just open a box then, or tidy your room. Like, one of the two. That could be immensely satisfying. But then I listen to tracks like this, and it'll be like, dun 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 dun. You're like, oh, satisfying. Satisfying. Vocally, it's kind of, it sits in the more Sanguisugabogg register than it does necessarily the 200 Stab Wounds. Very much in the kind of blooddustery sort of thing. But they have fucking riffs for the. What I love about this is the combination and playfulness around not the hugest dexterity of riffs they have here. It's not as if they're like pulling things out. It kind of almost feels like one of those like steel, like, you like, I'm showing my age here. You used to get like it would be like a rope with steel bars on it. You could bend it into different fucking shapes. You'd be like, it's a square now. Look, it's a fucking pyramid. It's kind of like that. The change and morph, very similar sounding riffs into tracks that sound completely different, which might feel like I'm kind of slapping them in the face and saying they're not creative enough. As the other way around, like the songs are actually incredibly Moorish. I don't often get to the end of a kind of death metal album and like, see if you flung another 4 or 5 songs into that. That'd be fucking fine. As a taster, it's perfect length. It really, really is. And they've chose maybe the best time to do it. Like, this kind of sound right now is kind of gaining quite a bit of traction. A lot of bands coming out that are starting to sound either like more refined, more polished versions, or actually even scuzzier versions of this. Sits perfectly in there. Love the samples. I mean, you're getting like the everything from fucking Family Guy onwards here, which did, once again, it made me smile. I couldn't help but not crack, the same way Bloodduster used to make me smile, where I'd be like, these samples are like, they shouldn't go, but they totally fucking go.
Mm.
Production duties here are brilliant. It has a real kind of ugly rawness about it, but once again, you can easily pick out every instrument, every cymbal hit, everything the drum's doing on the kind of thread of albums. This is album 3 that we're now into on our night of recording. And what do they all have? Pingy snares. The pingy snare is back, by God. It never went away for some players, but it's back. And it actually really sits really well in this sort of music as well, because it cuts through that kind of chin chin kind of guitar thing. You just get a ping fucking snare. They don't go into any too much cliched things that some bands do, even when they want to be like. It's one of the reasons I love Sanguisugabogg is at no point do they feel like they have to put a blast beat in because they're a death metal band. Iron Front never feel like they have to put a blast beat in because they're a death metal band. 200 Stab Wounds do have blast beats, but that's because their sound is more acclimated to it, so it makes sense. This band are all about slamming grooves. Doesn't surprise me that they have influences of the kind of New York hardcore era. That kind of, it fits the brief here. It fits the way through. There's plenty of moments where you meet the riff higher up on a guitar, tune that bitch higher, and you put like a little bit for my friends, and you like it's like the groove in the background is fucking fully there. I had like the biggest shit-eating grin pretty much all the way through this one. It's hard not to enjoy music like this, especially now, and not ironically, because there are plenty of bands out there doing it now that is its own thing. They're one of what it is rough. It's not as weird as this is going to sound. It's not as polished as Sanguisugabogg.
No, it's not.
It's a bit more rough and ready. Like you're getting like a glimpse into like a weekend of demoing, but just with better production. And I kind of love it for that. I think it really suits their sound. It suits the album artwork, even the logo, which kind of feels like it's like someone's downloaded like disgusting font from fucking fonts.com. I kind of love that about it. They're clearly having a lot of fun here. This would be bitching to see live. This would be fucking great to see a smoky small club, you know, where there's hardly any fucking room to swing a cat, and just them fucking on a tiny stage, hardly fitting on it, but making everyone sweat like bastards. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. Like, a lot of fun with this. I think it's the first death metal album I've heard this year, and instantly I want more. So it's the same. We did Obituary about the same time last year, and at the end of that, I was like, "That you know what? I could go for some death metal this year." Iron Front have given me a taste of. I'm like, I could go some, and we get to see this year both Sanguisugabogg and 200 Stab Wounds live. It would be great if we saw Iron Front live as well. So. Yeah, this made me happy in ways that I didn't know I needed at the start of the year. And it's not perfect. Albums like this shouldn't be perfect. It's a bit repetitive. Albums like this tend to be a bit repetitive. But I think they've got the heart in the right place. I think they wear their influences on their sleeve. And it sounds like a fucking great time. And sometimes that overshadows, you know, dexterity, ingenuity, and all the rest. I think this is a fucking big old ton of fun. So, yeah. You must have, like, there's no, like, there's, like, every song, I'm just thinking, Dave. Dave, yeah. Oh, what's that? Wee cheeky drum fill? Oh, snare drum, Dave. It's got your name. They might as well have called this Iron Front Releases Dave. You know what I mean?
There was no real surprise to my enjoyment of this, to be honest. Like, once I heard the single, I was like, I'm gonna like this. I know I'm gonna like this.
as long as it's like this.
Yeah, I'm good with
we're
that.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean it's death metal, but it's groove laden. It's got a nice kind of slammy kind of feel to it with that, as I said, the kind of New York hardcore kind of blended throughout. It just feels like every track has like the same objective. It's just like we just want to obliterate everything in the most disgusting way possible. I thought like it's 22 minutes. And initially when I finished it, I was like, oh god, I feel like I could be doing with like another 10 minutes on top of that. But now that I've had the chance to kind of rinse it a good 4 or 5 times, I'm actually all right with the 22-minute runtime.
It's genius. It's genius.
Yeah, I think they've hit it at a point where if they'd pushed it any longer, it might have started to be more kind of repetitive sounding. So I think the length's actually fine. Once I listened to it though, I was like, right, I need to go back and listen to their debut. I never checked that out, so I went back and listened to Left Out to Rot, which only came out in 2022. So, and it was like
right,
the end.
So they're wasting no time.
Yeah, it was like near the end of 2022. It's slightly longer. It's about 35 minutes. That album, very similar in style and in its aim, but I feel like this new release it feels more focused. They've basically trimmed it right down. Like any of the kind of excess fat that was on that kind of first album, they've basically cut it off, and this is basically the first album had a lot of songs where they maybe go like 4 minutes or just over 4 minutes, but here it's 3 to 3.5 is like the kind of max that they push these tracks. I think it makes a difference though. There's nothing that feels overstretched here, or you never feel like you're having to wait on the reward. It's delivered fairly quickly, with even more like emphasis on the groove than before. The switch ups are so good, like that switch into the kind of slowed down grooves, that they're absolutely awesome. As you said, they also use samples, which I fucking love. Like I really enjoy it.
Bands that we used to be like, I don't know, maybe
huge.
it was of an era, but there was a time period where, I mean, our first foray, and like if you listen to our early demos, there were fucking every song had samples.
Yeah.
Because you could, and the technology was cheap enough that you could do it, and then you were thinking, but really get like you just get, it was an opportunity to mix your favourite movies with the songs you were writing. They didn't even have to match, like conceptually, like the samples didn't even have to fucking match, but as long as they fit in that bar of 4, we're off to the races. I love when bands do it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's become more difficult now with like copyright and stuff. I'm not sure.
I thought it would be easier. Like the amount of bands now that are looping. We spoke about Zulu earlier on, where you're basically taking wholesale from other artists.
Yeah.
I would have thought that would have been, and maybe it's just not popular anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, who knows? But they're popular because they brought it back.
Yeah, bring it back, and it did kind of take me back like 20 years to like, as we said, like the Bloodduster albums from the early 2000s, where it's like a track is either opened with a sample or closed with a sample, or they just throw it right in the middle of a track.
Yeah.
They do it on Slug Rounds, which is like as the title suggests, it comes with the sound of like a pump action shotgun being loaded just before the breakdown lands.
It's so good.
Of course you do. But I like that. I like that playfulness that they've got with these tracks. You can tell the guys have got a sense of humor. But more importantly, the arrangements and the song structures on Hooked are just perfectly carved to make each track an absolute rager. And I know it's only like just over a year since their last album, but you can actually hear quite clearly the little improvements that they made to their songwriting in that short space of time.
Dude, I would happily have 22 minutes of new music from them every year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It made me honest. I can't stress enough. This smile is not forced, and I have felt listening to all the way through it.
Yeah.
So.
Even the vocalist in that kind of like short space, he sounds even more in control of his voice on this one. The gutturals are more consistent throughout. He sounds like he's got lower in pitch since the last album, and his tone is even more intense on this one, which I really liked. But I like that he throws in that kind of hardcore style shouts and screams as well, very occasionally, just to mix it up a bit on the album, which is cool. I think the other massive update these guys have had is in the production. The last album was similar in idea, but a bit more in kind of the old school type sound. It sounded more live than studio produced, but this, on the other hand, is like an absolute kind of powerhouse compared to that. It's almost like that same scenario where Sanguisugabogg went from Tortured Hold to Ecstasy. You can hear the level of production kind of really shift up a level. Everything here sounds really meaty, really crisp sounding. The drum sound, again, just makes me really happy in all the right places. With another snappy, pingy snare, which I love. Guitars are really, really disgustingly girthy, and is the bass as well. I think it's the Burned by a Crack Pipe, I think, is a track, and it opens up with a big bass
it's like,
riff.
you can hear the string fucking rattling.
yeah, you get that real kind of like feeling in the pit of your stomach. It was really cool, and as well, I like the kind of choice of reverb that they put on the vocals. It's very kind of 90s death metal, which was cool. Yeah, no real surprise that I dug this, to be honest. But if you like that kind of slammy, groovy death metal, then this is one that you need to check out. I didn't really have anything negative to say about it. It does what it kind of says in the tin, which it's not. That's not a criticism, but you could argue that it's, you know, it doesn't really do anything that you haven't heard, tried, and kind of tested before. If you're looking for something that's going to take the genre to another level of innovation, then this probably won't be it. But if you're looking for an album that'll have you fully erect for its runtime, then give Iron Front a spin.
You can handle 22 minutes of blood loss to the brain. Play this one.
They are curing impotence one album at a time. Iron Front, 2023, 2024.
If they have a vinyl, Dave, it should come out in blue pill form. A blue pill shaped vinyl.
I'm down with that. Okay, final thing. Scores for Hooked by Iron Front. What are you scoring this one?
I'm giving it a 4. There's no way not to enjoy this album.
Yeah.
I think his biggest issue, which isn't really even an issue to me, is that I have heard this all done before. That also, to kind of almost give a compliment back to the band though, it's very easy to fuck up things that feel or perceived to be simple, and they never do it. They never put a foot wrong throughout the entire runtime here. Everything is in the pocket all the way right through. It's just so much fun, man. It's disgusting fun. It's that inappropriate joke your fucking uncle tells you that you shouldn't laugh at, but has you cackling at the family dinner. Yeah, 4 out of 5.
Yep. Yeah, I'd agree. 4 out of 5 for me as well. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Sometimes you just want an album that's just punishingly heavy.
100%.
Does what it says. Like that's what I want. It's fun. It's got a lot of cool cookie samples in it. The riffs are fucking great, man. Like, it's riffs for days, every single track. Yeah, not much more needs to be said. 4 out of 5 on this one from me as well. So that is the new album from Iron Front. It's called Hooked, out on January 12th on Creator-Destructor Records. Links below to the band, to the Bandcamp, all that sort of stuff. Check it out. That is the review. Thanks for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Give me my fucking lights, you bitch! It's not gonna do it, Dave. Fuck this review. Fuck this band. Please. No, it's not gonna do it. You broke it. You broke my camera.